I thought that for bed tonight we could do an excerpt from Cinderella. And this one is the live action novelization. I've only seen the live action Lion King, but the novelization for Cinderella live action and Ariel are so good. I highly recommend them. And tonight I will share a very sweet and happy excerpt with you guys. We begin. Dear reader, if you would be so kind as to indulge me, I would like to tell you a tale. Years have passed since these events unfolded, but I remember them vividly. It's no surprise, really. After all, I am a fairy godmother, and fairy godmothers have great memories, not to mention impeccable fashion sense. Over the years, I have helped many young people discover that dreams can come true. I've watched love blossom and grow, watched heroes find strength, and hard-hearted people find soul. But this story touched me more than all the others. Oh, that's much better lighting now. It begins as all good stories do, with Once Upon a Time. Once upon a time, there lived a handsome man and a beautiful woman. They were kind, gentle, and generous to all. The man worked hard to make his wife happy, and his wife loved him wildly. They lived in a quaint home in the middle of a beautiful kingdom. A large meadow behind the house provided flowers through spring and summer, and in a small field sweet lambs grazed beside contented cows. It was a home filled with cheer. When the husband and wife had a perfect baby girl, the home became happier still. They named the baby Ella, and from the moment she was born, she was their little princess. True, she had no title or crown or castle, but she was the ruler of her own kingdom. The forests and meadows were her borders, and the birds in the air and the critters in the fields were her subjects. Whether she pretended to be an elephant traipsing through the Sahara or a wild horse galloping through the meadows, everyone, from the mice in the house to the cooks in the kitchen, was happy to play along. Both animal and human alike fell under her enchantment, happier when in her presence. Spring had arrived in the kingdom. Grass in the meadow was a bright green, and flowers grew tall in their beds. Baby lambs grazed in the meadow, while ducks flapped around in a small fountain near the home. Stepping through the front door, 10-year-old Ella inhaled and deeply smiled. She reached into her pocket and closed her small hand around the breadcrumbs she had gotten from the kitchen. She skipped towards the ducks, splashing around, and began throwing the crumbs into the water. The ducks pecked at the bread, thrilled to have a treat. But they were not the only ones who wanted some. In an instant, sparrows flew down from the nearby trees, and even the geese and sheep began to make their way over. Soon it was all chaos as all the animals and birds tried to get to the bread. Ella waded among the throng, moving some of the bigger birds out of the way. "You there," she said to one particularly large duck. "What do you think you're doing? Let the little ones have their share." Turning towards a goat with a rather large clump of grass in his mouth, Ella added, "Goliath, do take time to chew your food. We don't want you getting an upset stomach." A gentle laugh surprised Ella, and she turned around. Her mother was standing nearby, an amused expression on her face. "Do you still believe that they understand you?" she asked. A look of doubt filled Ella's bright blue eyes. "Don't they?" "Oh, yes," she assured her daughter. "I believe that animals listen and speak to us. If only we have the ear for it. That is how we learn to look after them." A big smile spread across Ella's face. Then she frowned. "Well, who looks after us?" "Fairy godmothers, of course," her mother answered. Forgive the interruption, but I cannot resist. I was always rather fond of Ella's mother, such a good judge of character, and clearly smarter than most humans. But do go back to the story. Ella's eyes grew wide. "And do you believe in them?" "I believe in everything," Ella's mother replied. Ella was quiet for a moment, her mother's words running through her head. She nodded. "Then I believe in everything too." "Which is just as it should be," her mother declared. Just then, Ella heard the sound of hoofbeats coming up the drive. She knew those hoofbeats. Ella let out a squeal before taking off across the meadow, heading for the drive. Her father was home. Ella's father was often gone for long stretches of time on merchant business, and when he was away, the house was just a little less bright. "Papa!" Ella shouted, skipping the few remaining steps that separated her from her father. "Welcome home!" Ella's father lifted her into his arms, nearly squishing her in a giant bear hug. She hugged back as hard as her little 10-year-old arms would allow. Then she took a deep breath, inhaling the smell of road and dust that accompanied her father whenever he returned. She loved the smell, even though she knew Mother would force him into a hot bath as soon as possible. After several moments, Ella slid to the ground. As part of her routine, she stepped up to Galahad and affectionately put her hand on his muzzle. The horse leaned into her. When Ella turned back around, her eyes widened with excitement. Her father was holding out a beautifully wrapped gift. "What is it?" Ella asked eagerly. "Oh, nothing but a cocoon," her father replied. "I found it hanging up on a tree." Ella raised an eyebrow. She knew it wasn't just a cocoon. Her father was teasing her. Ella's father gently shook the gift. "But I think there may be something inside." He held out the package, and very carefully Ella unwrapped the gift. Then she let out a delighted gasp. Inside was the most beautiful and marvelous toy butterfly she had ever seen. With a practiced move, Ella's father took it and made the creature flutter around Ella's face. It looked like it was alive. In French, her father explained, that is un papillon. I hope I said that right, loves. Ella repeated the phrase, the words funny on her tongue. Her father had been teaching her French whenever he was home, and she was slowly becoming more fluent. He said that a true lady knew the language of poets as well as the language of the farmer. "Très bon," her father cried after she repeated the phrase several times. Then he held out his hand. "Voulez-vous danser, mademoiselle?" "S'il vous plaît," Ella exclaimed, dipping into a curtsy. Her father smoothly swept her into his arms. And they began to waltz their way up the rest of the drive to where Ella's mother waited, a happy smile on her face. Later that night, Ella lay tucked in her bed. The butterfly sat on the nightstand in a place of honor, while her mother sat on the covers holding a beautiful book. Her voice filled the room as she told Ella a story about a faraway land, a large ogre, and a dashing prince. Ella's eyelids fluttered as she tried to stay awake. Looking down at her sweet daughter snuggled in her arms, Ella's mother began to sing a familiar lullaby. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I am king, dilly dilly, you shall be queen. Her voice drifted off as Ella's father entered the room. He placed a gentle kiss on his daughter's forehead. Smiling, Ella's mother began the final refrain. Ella woke and her soft voice joined in. Lavender's green, dilly dilly, lavender's blue. You must love me, for I love you. As the song came to a close, Ella's parents stood up and began to blow out the candles one by one. Walking to the doorway, they turned to take another look at their sleeping angel. In that moment, everything seemed as it should be. They knew themselves to be the most fortunate people to live as they did and to love each other too. That ended on page 7. Right, my darlings? Oh, I love that book. I cry maybe 3 times. I think there's three key cries in there, but it is so beautiful. And I hope that you enjoyed this for tonight. I know I loved getting to read it to you. And I love you too, darling. There's so much love in this world. So many blessings. The blessing that so many people care. It is truly beautiful. Just like I hope that your sleep is tonight. Beautiful people deserve beautiful rest. I love you, darlings. Good night. Sleep sweet now.